Welcome, everyone, to episode 110 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a random game on Xbox Game Pass or one requested by people on our Twitter and decide, well, are we playing another SNES RPG?
It sure looks like it, but I think this one was made pretty recently.
I think you're right. In this episode, we are talking about our Twitter poll winner, Chained Echoes, by one developer, apparently.
Ooh.
Matthias Linda. This game came out back in December of 2022. This apparently had a Kickstarter back in 2019 or something like that. So it's pretty interesting and pretty impressive, actually, when all things considered.
I like it when Kickstarters get delivered.
Yeah, that's true. That's an important thing that anyone who plans on doing that, please make sure you deliver on your said thing. But I play this on the PC as usual, and it was a paltry 795.63 megabytes. Tom, what about you?
It did come to Xbox a little bit later, and somehow along the way accrued an extra 300 megabytes because it's 1.1 gigabytes on the Xbox One.
Got a little heft in the Xbox world. I'm not sure about that, but maybe someone can explain that. Maybe Matthias can explain that to us. I don't know. Well, maybe I'll try to tweet at him and see what's the deal with that. But what kind of game is this? We already kind of hinted at this, though.
Yes. I put turn-based RPG, and then in parentheses, I put JRPG, because that's what it's going to make you think of, but it was not developed in Japan.
No, that's right. You're right. I put SN. I mean, I just wrote SNES style JRPG, and funny enough, actually, I didn't realize it wasn't developed, I wrote this. What kind of game is it before I actually started playing the game? Sure. And I was like, oh, this was not developed by a Japanese studio at all. So, well, there you go. But speaking of which, what is this game loop?
I have explore and battle to advance the story and level up your characters.
Yeah,
and you?
Fairly similar. Take on turn-based battles while progressing the story.
Yes. I concur.
Yeah. Yes. And speaking of concurs, we got to figure out what we are liking about this game.
Well, I think the 16-bit art style is well executed. Agreed.
Again, for apparently someone that did this by himself, this game looks pretty good, pretty dang good. And it doesn't. I'd say it might even look a little bit better than Octopath.
Yeah, I think it does.
Because like I get where Octopath was trying to do with like the 2D style thing, but like there's just some consistency to this that I liked more than I did with Octopath. So yeah, I think it does well. Everyone looked fairly different. I really like the mechs, style. Those are really cool. And yeah, the world in itself was I thought it had a pretty good setup overall. So it was fun to jump into this, and we've clearly had a lot of people want us to play this game, and it was interesting just to check it out and see what's the whole deal. Why is everyone so excited about this game?
Yeah. Especially since at first blush you go, it just looks like another one of these indie style games that that there are a lot of on the Game Pass.
Oh yeah,
but this one definitely does stand out. One of the things that stood out for me is there's humor.
Yeah,
right. Getting slapped by your mom. And you touched on that as well.
I did. I like the fact that they made fun of the whole RPG trope of waking up.
Yeah,
because it's like, oh, you're waking up from your slumber. Like I thought it was like, okay, it's like unnamed character probably doesn't have any lines, and well, your character speaks, even though he doesn't have the voice acting, but he speaks, so that's good. And then immediately gets slapped out of that by a dolphin. No,
Yes.
by a dolphin, an angry dolphin. I think his name was Hein, Hyne, Hein. Yeah. So that was fun. It was fun to see there are, and I might have put this incorrectly, but anthropomorphic, is that it? Is that when there's animals that have human-like characteristics, or human anthropomorphic? Okay, yes, that there was a mix of these kind of characters as well as humans. So it's like it was kind of fun to see that. And again, kind of gave me like flashbacks of stuff like Chrono Trigger and stuff like that, where they had that kind of mix of styles of characters and stuff like that. So that was fun. That was fun to see.
Yes. Speaking of Chrono Trigger, the principal character when you start up, his name is Glenn. Frog, aka Glenn, is my favorite character in Chrono Trigger. So well done, Matthias.
I wonder if he did that on purpose. That'd be cool.
I definitely felt on purpose.
Yeah, true. And I thought the music for what it was pretty good. It kept during the battles, it was engaging. And speaking of the battles, the overdrive mechanic I thought was added a layer of engagement in the combat, which would normally just be you clicking through menus and stuff like that. But like you're actually, trying to get to a particular section. So the overdrive system is basically there's this bar that you fill up, but there's a particular section of the bar, which is green, that you want to stay in throughout your entire battle, so that I guess you get more your attacks hit harder and stuff like that. Is that
and your mana effectively goes further because you're spending less mana, to use your attacks, your special attacks, if you stay in that green zone.
Yeah, and then like if you go over it, you can. I think you take more damage and you use more mana, or is it tech? They call it tech points here, I think.
Yeah,
but
for
the same thing
for the uninitiated. For anyone, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but
the
like
juju to do the special moves.
Right. But I like that because then you had to really think about what am I actually going to be doing in this particular sequence. So
yeah. It definitely changes the flow of battle and makes you go, okay, now I'm going to heal here, or I'm going to use some kind of support move, or maybe sometimes even certain attacks will bring that bar back down. So it's interesting. It has each of these characters play and what they do. So and there are lots of interesting and weird characters, both in the party and out of the party. So that was fun.
Yeah. And I mean, like the story, like the way it starts out, there's some very tropey things that happen, but at the same time, I thought it was pretty well executed from what I played so far. And I was definitely interested to see like in the fact that I mean, it's, I don't know, really a spoiler because you finish it in the first hour, but essentially you get to a point and your characters change. And so that happens, which, can be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. But do you have anything else to talk about in your likes, or shall we get to those dislikes?
I just want to point out that this is a game. A lot of RPGs are like this. Pokemon is like this, and it's one of the reasons I enjoy Pokemon. But as you explore, you get rewarded for the exploration. So if you go down the path you're not supposed to go down, maybe there's an item there. Maybe there's somebody that you talk to and you get a little bit of lore. Like the world feels big and populated.
True.
Even though you are kind of on a linear path to advance the story. If you do those little branchy paths, you do get things that you can then use to heal yourself, or, little boosts and little tidbits of world building. So I appreciate that attention to detail and the rewards for my behavior, which is to always check all the branching paths before advancing the main one.
Lots of candy that I picked up. And Oh, I also want to mention that I liked that they didn't do like the Final Fantasy route, earlier Final Fantasy routes where you're walking around and you just have a random encounter. Like,
Yeah.
I like that you can see your enemies and you can potentially even avoid them. Because I think like, was the Secret of Mana kind of like that? And Chrono was like that too, right? So, okay. So you could, if you wanted to avoid combat, if you wanted. And there was certain, like, I mean, obviously there were certain areas where you would see people rush at you, but then it's like, it's still not like you're walking along and then just the swirl happens and then you continue. So that was good. There was like that. I'm glad that they didn't go full 16-bit RPG with that stuff. So good. Kudos to Matthias for that. So
end of the kudos, Chris. Time to talk of some smack.
Yes, we need to talk smack about the game. And I have to say, I was a little confused about the leveling up system. Mm-hmm. They tried to explain it, and I was like, okay, so you can level, like you have these grimoire shards that you can level up your characters, but then you could do things that can level up all of them at the same time, or is it like? And I was like, okay, and then on top of that, there was the, like, for me, I always get paranoid about, am I going to level up the wrong thing?
Yeah. Are you putting the points in the right place?
Right. And that it's going to bite me in the ass later in the game where I'm like, oh, I didn't like, so.
I was supposed to put it all in strength.
Right. I was just like, so that's why I was like, I tend to like hoard these things until like later on. And then I'm like, all right, and then I can level everyone up and go
when you realize where your deficiencies are,
right?
You're like, okay,
right. Yeah. So, what did you not like about this?
I mean, no big surprise here. It is an RPG. There's a lot of dialogue, and as you mentioned before, there is no voice acting, so it is a lot of reading.
Which you know what? Would you prefer that they had the Charlie Brown wat during this, or left it how it was?
I think because it is trying to mimic the way that the 16-bit RPGs were, it makes sense to not have voice acting. There's a lot of reading in Pokemon. There's a lot of reading in Chrono Trigger. But it is something I think that people need to be aware of, you know, especially when we talk about how long something takes, right? Like the whole premise of this show is, you know, you got an hour. So just be aware that you're going to be doing a lot of reading.
Yep.
I know that you were talking earlier about all these tropes that you enjoyed. I kind of felt like it went a little too far with them. Like some of them it did tongue in cheek, but then some of the stuff it wasn't tongue in cheek at all. So like when your characters reset and you get these new characters, one of them is a secret princess. Like, come on, like,
secret princess and her, like, was he like a guard for her?
Okay. At least that I kind of liked, where it was like, oh, this guy's just a guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's nobody special. But like
that we know of.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Who knows? He's also a secret princess. Right.
We got so many secret princesses in this game.
There's a fair, right? All of these games open with the fair. That's like a pretty big trope in the RPG world. I don't know. It just felt like one after the other for me.
Yeah.
You know? It started to get old by the end of the hour.
Yeah. I saw your note about the follow me thing. You could touch on that. I totally agree. That made no sense to me either.
So this character comes up and meets your character and then's like, okay, I'm going to lead you to where you need to go. And you're like, okay. And then the game gives you back control and you're piloting your character, leading the way to wherever it is. Now, it just doesn't make any sense.
No.
And also because you can change party order on the fly, like why didn't the game just change the party order and make this guy the lead and then you're still leading, right? I don't know.
It made no sense. Although I have to also point out that was a cool scene, that whole battle sequence, like the whole battle that was going on. Like you saw those mechs flying around. That was a pretty cool scene in the beginning.
Yeah.
So
the game is surprisingly cinematic for a 16-bit style game.
Definitely.
Things you didn't like.
Yeah. Yes. Right. I want to say though, I think you touched on this too. While the overdrive system was cool, I felt like the enemies had a ton of HP. Even like the little like flies that you had, the fly with the boxing gloves. I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. I'm like hitting it with every attack that I have, and it was still there. It was like, how much they had to have easily like 200 to 300 HP, and because I was doing like 60. Or like the multi-attack things and stuff like that, and hitting them with their weaknesses, and it's like still they wouldn't go down after like 3 or 4 turns. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, and I didn't really like the way they represented their life bars. Like obviously for your own characters, you have numerical values. Sure. And you know exactly how much you have.
Yeah,
and I understand not giving me the numerical values of how many the enemy has. I understand that.
Yeah,
but because the life bar was done in a weird way where it was like centered over the enemy character, and it depleted from both sides. It wasn't like a left to right sort of thing. It's unusual and kind of hard to read. So
and you only saw it like after you made your attack, I think too, right?
Right. It wasn't on the screen all the time. So it just isn't a good interface, for understanding how damaged the enemy is.
Right. Especially since it's a 16-bit style game. Like there's no visual cues outside of, that bar that you have to see like, okay, this person's almost dead or whatever it is. So
so you know where to focus your attack, right? Like if you want to take some enemies out of the battle. Yeah.
And like most JRPGs, quote unquote, there's a lot of characters and a lot of names to remember. That can be a lot for me to like, especially get invested into a new series and stuff like that. That you have to be like, okay, I have to remember all these people's names. But I will say, because they have the little art, the little portraits every time you have a conversation, that does help at least kind of correlate to me. Like, okay. As opposed to just the pixel art thing. So I'm like, okay, that helps a bit in terms of me kind of connecting, so to speak, to these characters. So
yes. Well, speaking of connecting to characters, okay, and this was a big one for me.
Yeah.
What's with taking away my starting characters right after I got attached to them?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they come back later. I'm not sure. Yeah. But like, if we play an hour of a game, I play, 45, 50 minutes with one set of characters, and then they just get yanked away from you. And I'm just like, I spent all this time getting to like these characters. They were sitting in my likes as like, wow, I really like all these characters, and now they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree that makes it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts when you do that. But I think I like this a little bit more than the way that Octopath did it. It's not that, and it's not that Octopath they took away characters. The thing that I keep talking about this game, but like I'm just comparing the JRPGs.
Yeah, they're similar in ways.
Yeah,
I get it.
One thing I didn't like about Octopath was like how you would go, you're collecting your other party members, but then when you go to like start their story missions, it's almost like they're like brand new, or like your characters are not even there. It just felt like there was a disconnect that happened. And I kind of understand it, because it's like they can't, because there's 8 different characters that you initially start with, and then for them to like change up the dialogue for all of them, I'm sure it could have gotten really, really complicated really quickly, but it still was just like an odd disconnect. Whereas this is like, there's a clean cut. Did you get to the next part after your second set of characters?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a third set of characters that
oh my god,
you get to meet after that. So there's that, Tom. So you don't even get to know them for that long. So yeah, that's that.
That's genuinely absurd.
They're trying to introduce characters very quickly. I will appreciate that you're introduced to a couple of characters fairly quickly, but it can be a lot. It can be a lot for some people.
I'd rather have a couple of very strong characters than 100 million characters.
Yeah. True. Anything else you want to bring up before we get to our other thoughts?
No, I think I'm pretty good on my cons.
Cool. Right. Well, the other thoughts I have here is this game does have Xbox Cloud saves, so you should be able to transfer your progression from PC to Xbox and vice versa. Our toilet compatibility factor, I've gotten down to a 2 out of a 5. I'm doing a 5 scale. I don't know if 10 might be a bit much.
10's too many.
10 might be too many toilets here, but 2 out of 5. This game is cloud enabled, but it needs a controller, which makes no sense to me because this game clearly screams touch controls. It should be so easy to add touch controls to this game. There's not, you don't use that many buttons. So it's like,
this is what do you need? Directional and a accept and decline.
Yeah,
exactly. You can play this on an NES controller.
Yeah. But I mean, without the need of a controller. But anyway, the point is that's a 2 out of 5 here. And How Long to Beat says if you mainline this game, it takes about 31 hours to beat. And about 44 hours mixed, like doing some side quests here and there. So it's a pretty hefty game, all things considered, for me, at least for me, a less than a gigabyte download. And for you, just about a gig.
Well, just a little bit more, but still not. It doesn't take up a lot of space on the Xbox, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And I do want to just stipulate, and I think it's important to, before we get into our outro here, our final decisions, is that, with all story-driven games, an hour is not a lot of time to set up not only interesting world building, which I think that they do here, but a mainline plot, like the plot of your game, which maybe that isn't as well set up here because they keep jumping around between characters and things, but also your mechanics, which I think it does set up well. So I think it does a good job of explaining what the world is and also how to play the game. But this story, it just kind of jumps all over the place. But
2 out of 3
in 1 hour, maybe in 2 hours, once you've stabilized characters, maybe they'll have all the wheels spinning. But wanted to point it out before we move into the final.
That's a good point. And again, all things considered, for a guy that developed it by himself, supposedly that's not bad.
It's an impressive feat.
Yeah, definitely. Now, though, Tom, we got to find out, though, is this feat that Matthias did, so back in the day, I don't know, since 2019, enough for us to keep this on our systems here? But before we get to that, we wanted to let you know about our spectacular sponsor, Winner Winner. Winner Winner is a live arcade claw machine game available on Android and iOS, and it's 100% skill-based. Trust me, if you see me play my games, you know I'm not that great, and I still have won games on my first try. There's hundreds of prizes, even featuring gaming merch from Nintendo. Pick your prize from choices in your particular game, or bank your earnings with tickets to redeem any other prize you want from their wide selection. And for all you lovely people listening or watching our show, you can get bonus tokens on your first app token purchase. Download and create your account, then use the link in the episode's description to enter promo code WHATITDO after you sign in. Check it out. It's clawsome.
Well, Chris, I will say I can 100% see why this was recommended to us. I can definitely see why it won the poll. I think the comparisons to the JRPGs of our youth are fair and warranted. I think this game does a very good job of capturing the spirit. Like, think about the way that we remember Chrono Trigger, not like actually playing Chrono Trigger, but the way that we remember playing it. Yeah. Like, I think this game does a really good job of doing that and capturing that, the heart of that. But unfortunately for me, because they kept jumping around with all the characters, I just didn't get invested with the characters that I was playing with at the end of the game. And I mean, bad news for you, game, is like, if I don't like the characters I've got when I put the controller down, it's going to be pretty hard pressed for me to pick it back up again. And I know that it's going to take a super long time for me to get attached to all of these characters. That I don't know if I have a super long time.
Right. Now my question is, if the game continued with Glenn and I forgot the other guy's name already. I think I would still be playing it. You would still be playing if it was just those guys. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's because I need, from a story-based game, I need you to grab me into the, like, again, I enjoyed the mechanics, I enjoyed the world building, but I was not gripped by the plot in the hour that I had to get gripped by the plot. So
fair enough. No, that makes sense.
Did it do better with you, Chris? Let's find out.
Well, again, I agree with what you said. The game definitely had something going on for it, and I can see why the folks were raving about this and saying this is a great game, and all that fun stuff. But 32 hours seems like a large time sink into a game like this, a turn-based RPG, and this is a game I see myself playing more on my phone than on my console or PC, because it's just like this is something I would like, when I'm waiting for my kids to finish their whatever homework or whatever it is, like I can do that. I might keep playing it though, just to see if there is a point where the game's like, oh, okay, like it clicks, where the story, where, like, to your point, Tom, if the plot gets to an area where like, oh, all right, this is really interesting. Because like, you're right, there was an interesting setup, and it's like, is there a payoff to that setup? Yeah. How long do I have to wait for that payoff?
Right. So at what point does this game start firing on all cylinders?
Right.
And maybe our listeners can let us know what that point is.
Yes, because those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us, say hello on Twitter at TC1H1D, or shoot us an email at TC1H1D@outlook.com, and check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1H1D. And if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, send us a comment down below. Let us know what's up with this game. When does it get good?
When does it get good?
And as always, 1H1D is part of the QTV network. If you like gaming podcasts and other cool content, check us out and all the other stuff there at quitthebill.com/network. Tom, we got to find out what we're playing next, don't we?
That's right. And we go back to the tried and true
El Surprise Me button. I don't know. Maybe that's not right. But here we go.
What'd it be?
Evil is the name of the game.
Evil, just like bad, like nasty?
Maybe. Or like a village that is evil?
Ooh, sinister.
Sinisterville. Yeah, that's right. That is the next game we're going to be checking out. And we'll let you know what our thoughts are for that one. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.